I want you to do something for me right now. Just take a second and look at the nearest animal to you.
Like maybe your dog resting its head on your feet or something.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe it's a bird perched on a branch outside your window, or, even just a housefly buzzing against the glass.
Right.
We look at them and we just see instinct. We see innocence. We see creatures operating on a totally different, a simpler wavelength than we do.
A safe wavelength.
Right. But what if you're wrong? What if that creature isn't looking at you with instinct at all, but with this cold, calculated collective malice? What if it's just waiting for a signal?
It completely inverts the most fundamental assumption we have about our place on this planet,
Totally.
Like, we operate under this implicit belief that we are the architects, the observers, the undisputed masters of our environment.
Yeah, we're the ones in charge.
Exactly. And the moment you start questioning the agency of the natural world, the moment you consider that the biosphere itself might have an agenda, well, that comfort just vanishes.
It really does.
It's a paradigm shift that leaves humanity entirely exposed, both biologically and logistically.
And that feeling of absolute, just chilling exposure is exactly what we are exploring today. So welcome to this deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Our mission today is to unpack a truly terrifying thought experiment. It's disguised as a literary sci-fi horror narrative, a text titled The Great Silence.
And just for reference, that's under.
Right. And let me be clear right out of the gate, calling this a monster story does a massive disservice to the material.
Absolutely.
This is a meticulously detailed, systematic account of an apocalyptic global uprising where the entire animal kingdom becomes a unified strategic military force aimed squarely at dismantling humanity.
Yeah, the backdrop for our discussion today really feels like we're standing in the middle of a global war room.
That's a great way to put it.
Just picture the walls covered in ecological maps, oceanic migration routes, and scattered dossiers on local wildlife.
Right, like we're plotting against pigeons and squirrels.
Essentially, yeah. The text forces us to ask a profound logistical question. Like, what happens when the very infrastructure of life itself, the biology that surrounds us, sustains us, and lives in our homes, what happens when that turns against its human architects?
It's so unsettling.
It is, because we aren't looking at a viral outbreak or an alien invasion here. We're looking at an infrastructure rebellion.
Right. And we are going to examine the mechanics of this biological war, peeling back the tactical, the psychological, and ultimately the deeply unsettling layers of this narrative.
We want to understand how human civilization is systematically dismantled, basically piece by piece.
Exactly. And the text doesn't start with like massive explosions or global broadcasts. It starts with the ultimate suburban nightmare, the domestic betrayal.
The quiet start.
Yeah. So, okay, let's unpack this. The opening scene gives us a woman named Mara in her 30s pouring cereal in her kitchen on a sunny, banal morning.
A completely normal day.
Right. And there's her beloved golden retriever, Buster, sitting by the back door. But Buster isn't wagging his tail. He isn't panting. He's perfectly still.
And the author is incredibly deliberate in describing Buster's physiology in this moment. His chest is rising and falling with this chilling mechanical regularity.
It's so creepy.
Right. This isn't a dog begging to go outside or hoping for a dropped piece of food. His attention is entirely consumed by a single housefly sitting on the window pane.
And the fly isn't buzzing, it's twitching in this rhythmic, pulse-like pattern.
Yeah.
The text calls it a tiny biological metronome counting down to a species-wide attack.
Which is such a striking image.
And then the fly taps the glass once, twice.
Yeah.
Sharp and deliberate. And Buster's head rotates a full 180 degrees to look at Mara.
Not a playful tilt.
No, his eyes are described as glossy black marbles, cold, calculating, and predatory. He is no longer Buster.
Right, he has become a weaponized node in an invisible network.
A node.
Yeah, and the horror here stems from the sudden, absolute absence of personality. The animal you love, whose quirks and behavioral parameters, so intimately, is just hollowed out in an instant.
Yeah, like the lights are on, but nobody's home.
Exactly. The biological shell remains, the muscles and teeth are all there, but the underlying software has been completely overridden.
It makes me think of a smart home system being instantly hacked by a hostile foreign power.
Oh, that's a really good comparison.
You know, you're sitting in your living room and suddenly the lights, the locks, the thermostat are all being controlled by someone who wants to hurt you.
Right.
Except in this case, the device that gets hacked is a beloved family member. It's intimately terrifying.
That analogy holds up structurally too because it highlights the exploitation of trust and proximity.
Yeah.
We bring these animals into our most vulnerable spaces, our beds, our kitchens, our nurseries, because we believe we have domesticated them.
We think we own them.
Right, we think we hold the administrative privileges to their behavior.
Uh-huh.
But the narrative immediately proves how fragile that assumption is by scaling this domestic treachery up to a mass biowarfare event.
It escalated so fast.
It really does. It moves from a quiet kitchen to a crowded, chaotic playground.
Right, the playground scene, this is where the sheer brutality of the attack really crystallizes. We see a swarm of gnats descending on a group of children.
Just horrifying.
But the terrifying detail is that it's not a chaotic, buzzing cloud. It's a tight, coordinated formation.
Like a military unit.
Yeah. A toddler starts laughing at the bugs, but the laughter turns into a muffled gargle. The gnats aren't biting. They are streaming directly into his mouth and nose with surgical precision.
It's a deliberate, suffocating invasion of the respiratory system.
Which is awful to even picture.
If we look at the biology of the human airway, the trachea is a relatively narrow tube designed for gas exchange, and it's highly sensitive to foreign particulates.
Right, like when you swallow water the wrong way.
Exactly. So when you introduce a dense, coordinated mass of biological matter like thousands of tiny insect bodies that actively resists expulsion, the cough reflex is rendered entirely useless.
Wow.
They don't need venom or brute force. They simply clog the mechanical pathways necessary for human life.
And when the parents scream for help or try to warn others, that very act of opening their mouths to communicate becomes the exact mechanism of their death.
It's a trap.
The air itself is weaponized. You literally cannot scream without inhaling a lethal dose of insects. But, how is this level of coordination even possible? Gnats don't have the cognitive capacity to form strike teams.
No, they don't. And the narrative provides a terrifying scientific context for this through a character named Dr. Aris.
Right, the scientist.
We find him in a laboratory, but he isn't looking at a virus under a microscope. He's analyzing the cognitive output of a common American crow and a North American gray squirrel.
Two creatures from completely divergent evolutionary branches.
Right, and he is running advanced electroencephalography, or EEG, on them.
Okay, let me stop you there because I want to make sure I understand the gravity of this. An EEG measures the electrical voltage fluctuations that result from ionic current within the neurons of the brain, right? So it
Yeah.
essentially tracks brain waves.
Precisely. It measures the macroscopic activity of the brain. And what Dr. Aris discovers is a synchronous pattern.
Wait, they match.
Yes. The crow and the squirrel are producing identical EEG readouts. They're processing information on the exact same frequency.
That's insane.
He dubs this the wavelength. To put into perspective how biologically impossible this is, an avian brain and a mammalian brain have entirely different architectures.
Right, they aren't even built the same way.
Exactly. They evolve different structures to handle cognition. For them to output the exact same electrical rhythm means their individual species-specific consciousnesses have been wiped entirely clean.
So nature is enslaved by a single controlling broadcast.
Yeah. The wild, chaotic beauty of the animal kingdom, the predator-prey dynamics, the territorial disputes, the mating rituals, all of the noise of natural selection is silenced.
Just wiped out.
It's replaced by a uniform silence of the mind. And Dr. Aris then shifts his focus to a microscopic view of a human host, and the conceptual horror deepens.
Oh, this part gave me chills.
He observes human immune cells, lymphocytes, and macrophages moving with military precision.
But they aren't defending the body. They are attacking healthy host tissue.
Right. It's the cellular mechanism of an autoimmune disease, but the author uses it as a profound macro metaphor for the entire planetary event.
An autoimmune disease on a global scale.
Exactly. In an autoimmune response, the body's defense system loses the ability to distinguish between foreign invaders and its own healthy cells.
It turns on itself.
Apply that to the Earth's ecosystem. The specialized cells of the planet, the animals, have collectively mistaken a component of the system, humanity, for a dangerous foreign entity.
Wow.
Dr. Aris whispers this chilling realization in the text. He says they aren't revolting against us, they're evicting us. It's planetary autoimmunity.
That raises such an agonizing question, though. If their minds are essentially wiped clean and hijacked by this broadcast, are the animals victims in this too?
I think so, yeah.
All the chaotic beauty of nature is just erased and replaced by this cold, uniform military directive.
It is an incredibly tragic perspective to consider. The text implies a total loss of autonomy for the natural world.
You're trapped too.
They are unwilling soldiers drafted into a war they don't understand, completely stripped of everything that makes them alive in a meaningful, individual sense. They are reduced to biological machinery.
And once that biological machinery is activated, the attack scales up immediately.
Very quickly.
We've seen the domestic front, we've seen the microscopic front, but the moment you try to run or seek medical help, you realize that the physical infrastructure of human civilization is fundamentally compromised.
There's nowhere to go.
Right. The hospital scene is pure nightmare fuel. You have this massive medical facility already suffocating from the silence of the patients who can't speak without inhaling insects.
Right, the gnats again.
And then from the metal vents and the drop ceiling tiles, there's this rhythmic, synchronized scratching. Thousands of tiny claws working in perfect unison.
It's described as a grotesque, organic, percussive symphony.
Ew.
A hospital is designed as a sanctuary,
Yeah.
right? A sterilized environment optimized for human survival. It has negative pressure rooms, HEPA filters, sealed environments.
It's supposed to be safe.
But those systems rely on a vast, hidden network of infrastructure.
And then the ceiling gives way. But it's not a collapse. It's a fluid, controlled invasion of rats.
The fluid invasion.
Drop silently onto the patients. They don't scurry away. They form this shimmering, undulating curtain of gray fur that covers the beds like a dense carpet.
Oh, it's horrifying. The rats are utilizing the labyrinthine network of sewers beneath the foundation and the air conditioning conduits above the ceiling.
Like shyways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These were conduits designed for life support, for ventilation, for sanitation. The hive mind has repurposed them as entryways for death.
It's so brilliant, but so evil.
The sheer mass of the rats acts as a fluid dynamic, overwhelming the localized defenses. The very structure meant to heal has been turned into a weapon against its architects.
So the hospitals are overrun. Your natural instinct is to get in your car and flee.
Obviously.
This is what the protagonist, David, tries to do. He's driving at high speeds through a wooded highway, trying to outrun the silence.
Just trying to get out of town.
Right. His headlights sweep across thousands of eyes, reflecting back from the edge of the asphalt. Deer, squirrels, owls, foxes, bears. They are just standing, shoulder to shoulder. A silent blockade.
But notice that they aren't attacking the car directly, at least not with brute force.
Right, which you would expect a bear to do.
A 1,000-pound bear could crush the vehicle. But that's inefficient. They're establishing a psychological and physical perimeter. The actual attack on David is a brilliant execution of mechanical sabotage via biology.
Yes. His car sputters, and he sees this thick, black sludge oozing from the air vents. Millions of crushed spiders and ants have crawled into the engine block.
The engine block.
Yeah, an internal combustion engine needs a precise mixture of fuel and air to operate. These insects have bypassed the air filters and clogged the intake valves, the fuel lines, everything.
It's mechanical suffocation.
They're willingly sacrificing themselves, dying by the millions, just to turn themselves into biological paste to choke the engine.
It's a kamikaze tactic, executed on a microscopic scale. The hive's mind values the objective neutralizing human mobility far above the lives of the individual insects.
They just don't care about dying.
The economy of life here is zero. To the broadcast, 1 million ants are no different than a single bullet. They are expendable ammunition.
And David locks the doors, but it's useless. He hears a rhythmic tink-tink-tink on the sunroof. The crows have landed.
The crows.
But they aren't just pecking blindly like in a Hitchcock movie. They are all hitting the exact same structural weak point of the laminated glass at the exact same time.
A percussive demolition theme.
Exactly. The windshield spider webs. And you know it's only a matter of seconds before the glass fails entirely?
This localized encounter with David perfectly mirrors the global strategic collapse that the text shifts to next.
Oh man, the military stuff.
Yeah. We move from a stalled car to the nerve centers of the world's most advanced militaries, and we witness the exact same principle applied on a geopolitical scale.
The military is totally useless here.
The entirety of conventional human defense doctrine is rendered obsolete in hours.
The scene inside the military command center is suffocatingly tense. General Miller, Admiral Davis, and Intelligence Officer Lieutenant Chen are watching their global monitors go dark.
One by one.
NATO, PACOM, CENTCOM, everything is compromised. The UK air defense zone is just gone. The Sixth Fleet flagship vanishes into static.
General Miller notes the terrifying signature of this war. There's no explosive trace, no electronic warfare disruption, no thermal balloons from missile launches.
It's completely silent.
This pure biological infiltration. He describes it as too silent and too clean.
So creepy.
The most devastating blow comes when they lose contact with Fort Bragg, the nerve center for U.S. Special Operations. 10 square miles of the world's most heavily armed and prepared fighting force drops off the satellite uplink without a single distress call.
And Lieutenant Chen pulls up a thermal drone feed of Fort Bragg. The vehicles are parked, the lights are on, but there is absolutely zero human movement.
Nothing.
Then, the thermal map shows individual heat signatures of soldiers suddenly being engulfed by massive amorphous blobs of heat.
Which is just bugs. Swarms.
General Miller stares at the screen and says, "We are not fighting an army, we are fighting an atmosphere."
That phrase perfectly encapsulates the asymmetrical nature of this conflict. Human military doctrine relies on identifying discrete targets, disrupting supply lines, and applying superior kinetic force.
Bullets and bombs.
But how do you shoot an atmosphere? How do you bomb a swarm of gnats?
Yeah.
Our weapons are designed to penetrate armor, not to eradicate a coordinated biosphere.
I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around the logistics of taking down a heavily fortified base without explosives. What does fighting an atmosphere actually look like on the ground?
The tactical strikes detailed in the text illustrate this with agonizing clarity. Take the forward operating base in the Arizona desert.
Okay.
Private Sanchez is on watch, surrounded by silent coyotes and bobcats holding the perimeter. But the actual weapon deployed against him is acoustic.
Wait, sound?
Yes. A low-frequency hum begins to build until it reaches a deafening pitch.
Bioacoustic warfare. Millions of cicadas.
Exactly.
The sheer volume of sound generated by a cicada swarm can exceed 100 decibels. If you synchronize millions of them, focusing the sound waves toward a central point, you could theoretically rupture eardrums, induce severe vertigo, and completely incapacitate a human target through sensory overload.
And once Sanchez and his unit are incapacitated by the sound, just holding their bleeding ears, a massive cloud of lustrous green scarab beetles descends.
Oh, gross.
They physically bury the soldiers and the entire base under tons of writhing chitin. And while the forward operating bases are being buried in the desert, the strategic command structures are being dismantled from the inside out. Consider the attack on the Pentagon's subterranean server farms.
Right. A maintenance technician named Peterson crawls into a main cooling duct because the core processors are overheating.
Which is normal enough.
Yeah, a facility like the Pentagon generates immense heat. Those servers require massive industrial-scale cooling fans to function. If the heat isn't dissipated, the hardware physically melts.
And Peterson expects to find a blown fuse or a mechanical failure. Instead, he finds the massive aluminum fan blades fused solid to their casings.
Glued shut.
Millions of cockroaches have crawled into the rotating machinery in successive waves. They allow themselves to be crushed until the sheer volume of their bodies, combined with their visceral fluids and chitinous shells, hardened into an impenetrable organic epoxy.
They literally glued the Pentagon's cooling system shut with their own dead bodies.
Yeah.
It's an agonizingly visceral image, but tactically it's brilliant. They weaponized thermodynamics.
They did.
By stopping the fans, they cause a catastrophic system overheat, essentially melting down the command and control heart of the military without firing a single shot.
The coordination extends to environments where humanity assumes absolute technological superiority too.
Like the ocean.
Exactly, utilizing physics and biology in ways that feel almost alien. Let's look at the oceanic breach at Aegis 7.
Right, the offshore security hub.
Powered by a submerged nuclear core. It's an installation designed to withstand tidal waves, torpedoes, and conventional naval sieges.
And Commander Finn is looking at the sonar, and everything seems fine. But deep in the massive water intake tunnels, the tunnels that draw in ocean water to cool the nuclear reactor, there is a highly specialized strike team at work.
Giant Pacific octopuses.
Hold on, though. How do enormous octopuses slip past the advanced sonar and thermal imaging of a top-tier military installation?
The intelligence displayed here is staggering because it utilizes layered, multi-species cooperation.
Okay, so they weren't alone.
No. The minor thermal anomalies the humans initially detected weren't fish. They were cuttlefish acting as a vanguard.
Wow.
Cuttlefish possess specialized cells called dermal chromatophores, basically cytoelastic saccules, filled with pigment that they can expand or contract to change their skin color and texture.
Right, natural camouflage.
The hive mind pushes this natural ability to its absolute limit, allowing the cuttlefish to achieve perfect thermal and spectral invisibility against the steel hull.
They act as the stealth reconnaissance.
Yes, relaying information back to the octopuses through rapid bioluminescent pulsing patterns that are invisible in the darkness of the abyss.
It's like an underwater SEAL team executing a coordinated sabotage.
Pretty much.
The octopuses scale the sheer cliff face of the massive steel intake valve. And they don't use brute force. They wrap their massive arms around the high-pressure flanges and apply precise, measured torque.
They're feeling for the internal locking mechanisms.
They open valves that no human could budge without heavy motorized machinery.
An octopus has no bones. Its entire body is essentially a muscular hydrostat, granting it infinite degrees of freedom and movement and the ability to apply leverage from impossible angles.
Which is wild.
When the superheated reactor coolant finally bursts into the tunnel, the octopus instantly manipulates its chromatophores to dissolve its body color into the boiling water, becoming a heat haze mirage.
It just vanishes.
Another octopus uses its incredibly hard, parrot-like beak to cleanly shear the main power conduit for the exterior automated defenses. Aegis 7 is blinded, its nuclear core is starved of cooling water, and it hurtles toward a catastrophic meltdown.
But the absolute nail in the coffin for global communication happens miles below the surface, on the abyssal plains of the ocean floor.
The cables.
Yes, this is where the world's continents are physically linked by those thick, armored fiber optic cables that carry 99% of all global data. The internet, financial markets, military communications, it all runs through these physical cables in the dirt.
And the weapon the hive mind selects to sever this connection is the mantis shrimp.
Now, I know the mantis shrimp is famous for having a club-like appendage that strikes incredibly fast, but we are talking about steel-armored cables designed to withstand extreme atmospheric pressure and anchor drags. How does a shrimp destroy that?
It requires a deep understanding of hydrodynamics and the phenomenon of sonic cavitation.
Okay.
The hive mind gathers thousands of mantis shrimp and arranges them in coordinated waves around the cables. They don't try to bite or chew through the steel. They unleash their strikes at identical points on the armor in perfect unison.
Sonic cavitation. That's when a rapid change in pressure in a liquid leads to the formation of small, vapor-filled cavities, right? Bubbles.
Exactly, but these aren't normal bubbles. The mantis shrimp's strike is so fast-moving at speeds of over 50 miles per hour underwater that the water simply cannot get out of the way fast enough.
Wow, 50 miles per hour.
The pressure drops drastically, causing the water to vaporize instantly. When these cavitation bubbles collapse, they generate a microscopic shock wave and a flash of light, with temperatures locally reaching thousands of degrees Kelvin.
Which is nearly as hot as the surface of the sun.
Exactly. Thousands of these implosions hitting the exact same micro area on the steel armor simultaneously act like a superheated, high-frequency kinetic drill.
They literally melt and shatter the steel armor through the sheer physics of collapsing bubbles, and then they pulverize the fragile glass fiber optics inside.
Yes.
The internet, international banking, military data traffic, it all just ceases to exist in a matter of minutes. The globe is plunged into a dark age.
To summarize the horrifying efficiency of this phase of the conflict, this isn't random animalistic destruction, it is targeted logistical strangulation.
It's precise.
Very. The hive mind has blinded our satellites, deafened our communications, and crippled our mobility. The strategic, geopolitical stage of the war is over almost as soon as it begins.
Which leaves humanity utterly trapped. With the military rendered useless and the internet dead, the war moves from the global stage directly to your front door.
The cities.
Yeah, the cities, these sprawling monuments to human dominance over nature, become massive concrete traps.
The urban environment, which is the pinnacle of human engineering, is rapidly converted into a series of highly efficient vertical and subterranean kill zones.
The text describes the heart of a major metropolis as eerily quiet. Cars are abandoned because sewer rats have systematically moved through the streets, gnawing and shredding the rubber tires.
No escape.
And then there's the vertical threat. High up on construction cranes towering over the streets, hundreds of pigeons are working with unnerving coordination.
Pigeons.
I know. They are using their beaks to systematically nudge loose industrial bolts and tools off the ledges. They drop a massive steel wrench 30 stories right onto a pedestrian walkway below. It's a perfectly executed, gravity-fed trap.
The illusion of safety provided by high-rise structures is brutally shattered. We follow a character named Marcus who lives on the 42nd floor of a luxury glass apartment building.
Right.
He assumes his altitude provides security. He barricades the heavy steel doors. But he forgets that his apartment is deeply connected to the building's infrastructure.
Plumbing.
Exactly. The attack comes from the plumbing. A torrent of colossal sewer rats and oily cockroaches pours out of his drains with such mass and pressure that they crack the ceramic of the toilet bowl.
That is disgusting.
And while he's fighting them off, outside his panoramic glass window, a swarm of peregrine falcons and hawks are dive-bombing the reinforced glass.
A peregrine falcon can reach speeds of over 200 miles per hour during a dive.
Yep.
The hive mind uses them as living missiles. They are shattering their own bodies upon impact, sacrificing themselves in relentless relays to weaken the structural integrity of the pane.
Just brutal.
The text describes a broken-necked hawk wedged in a crack in the glass, just staring at Marcus with pure, unadulterated malice as the window finally gives way.
It's intense.
It's scenes like this that make me question the fundamental logic of this intelligence. How does this hive mind value life?
That's a great question.
If it's willing to throw thousands of falcons at a single window or millions of ants into an engine block, what is the economy of life here? Is it boundless?
To the broadcasting intelligence, individual animal lives possess absolute zero intrinsic value. They are merely disposable kinetic and biological energy.
Just batteries.
The hive mind operates on a scale of pure, cold utility. The organic material, whether it's a falcon, a rat, or an elephant, is just a resource to be expended in the singular pursuit of eradicating the human presence.
Wow.
It's an algorithm prioritizing the end goal over the survival of its components.
And we see that horrifying utility applied across different geographies and infrastructures. Survivors attempt to flee into the subway tunnels, seeking shelter underground, but they find the tracks covered in stray cats and dogs.
It's completely blocked.
Massive spiders have woven webs across the tunnels, so thick they look like heavy velvet curtains, acting as tactile tripwires. When a human blunders into a web, it signals flanking packs of pit bulls and German shepherds to execute precise military pincer movements.
The coordination is unreal.
Even the zoo animals are loose and working in concert, Kodiak bears acting as heavy infantry while pythons block the narrow exits.
The intelligence seamlessly adapts to every specific geography. On the massive suspension bridges fleeing the cities, millions of honeybees swarm the suspension cables.
Not to sting, right?
Well, they don't attack randomly. They act as a herding mechanism. They use the threat of their stings to drive the fleeing humans into defensible, enclosed kill zones at the center of the bridges.
And what they do to the electrical grid is devastatingly clever. Out in the American Southwest, the high-tension power stations are overwhelmed by billions of red imported fire ants.
Billions of them.
Now, an ant is tiny, but they swarm the critical contact points on the high-voltage transmission equipment. They aggregate their bodies, linking leg to leg, to bridge the physical air gaps between massive electrical conductors.
And because their bodies contain water and salts, they act as biological conduits.
Right. The sudden introduction of biological resistance across those gaps causes massive electrical arcsing. The localized short circuits trigger massive cascading explosions.
The grid goes down.
The substations detonate, and vast swaths of the regional power grid simply burn down.
The utilization of the aquatic ecosystem is equally nightmarish. In the Florida Everglades, the text describes alligators and massive pythons forming literal living bridges across wide canals.
Living bridges.
Yeah, they lock their bodies together so that terrestrial predators, who normally couldn't cross the water, can advance on human settlements.
That's insane.
Beavers and manatees collaborate to dam up essential municipal drainage systems, intentionally flooding suburban streets and turning them into murky swamps where humans can be hunted from below by unseen aquatic predators.
It's the sheer variety and adaptability of the threats that makes the scenario so overwhelming. We see lions roaming abandoned city streets, utilizing disabled buses for cover and ambush points.
Jaguars hunting in the shadows of skyscrapers.
Right, their spotted coats camouflaged against the reflections of the black glass. Hippos deliberately overturning refugee boats to block vital river escapes.
Even monkeys.
Yes, in tropical zones, baboons and chimpanzees stage complex ambushes, utilizing looted human tools, wrenches, knives, even discarded firearms, though they use them as clubs rather than shooting them.
And the psychological terror of the scavengers. Flocks of vultures gathering silently on the roofs of hospitals and schools long before anyone has actually died.
So dark.
Acting as a highly visible, demoralizing prophecy of doom. Then, they systematically poison the freshwater reservoirs by dropping carrion into the supply.
Komodo dragons hunting with terrifying patience, using a single bite to administer their septic venom, ensuring a delayed but absolutely guaranteed kill.
It forces fleeing survivors to make the agonizing choice of abandoning their infected loved ones.
But amidst all these urban horrors, the text introduces one specific scenario that I find both strategically brilliant and emotionally devastating: the fortress breaker.
Oh, this part. It perfectly illustrates how the intelligence breaches a hardened target.
Yes, the logging camp in the Pacific Northwest. This isn't a suburban home. This is a fortified outpost. It has walls of reinforced steel and concrete, automated perimeter defenses, heavy machinery.
It's designed to repel a human siege.
But the hive mind doesn't attempt to breach the walls with a battering ram or a frontal assault of bears. It uses wolverines.
Wolverines.
Packs of them, deployed with surgical precision to systematically chew through the hidden, crucial hydraulic lines at the base of the outer wall, the exact lines that power the automated turrets and the heavy steel entry gates.
And a wolverine has immense jaw strength, capable of crushing bone. The text describes them exhibiting suicidal determination, biting through steel mesh and thick rubber hoses while being fired upon.
But the true terror lies in how they are directed. They are commanded by the ravens.
The corvids.
Yes, corvids, ravens, and crows are already known for their high intelligence, problem-solving skills, and ability to observe complex patterns.
Right, they're incredibly smart birds.
The hive mind utilizes the ravens as a flawless organic surveillance and command system. They monitor the human guard rotations from the tree line, identifying the blind spots in the searchlights.
And they communicate not with loud caws, but with subtle, synchronized shifts in their flight patterns.
They tell the wolverines exactly when and where to strike at the moments of maximum human vulnerability.
It's an impregnable fortress brought down by an irritating, persistent, highly coordinated grinding of the baseboards.
But as terrifying as that tactical brilliance is, the text takes us to a scene of psychological warfare that is just, it breaks your heart, the canine command.
This segment is perhaps the most chilling exploration of how the intelligence actively weaponizes our own history and emotional attachments against us.
The scene is set in an open concrete plaza. Standing at the center is a monstrous cane corso acting as a general. Its coat is the color of dried blood.
Beside it are two heavily muscled pit bulls acting as lieutenants.
The cane corso lets out a low, guttural vibration. Not a bark, but a command frequency. And hundreds of dogs pour into the plaza from the surrounding alleys.
What unfolds is a highly structured military formation that utilizes the specific breeding traits humans instilled in these dogs.
Right.
Beagles, Jack Russell Terriers, and Dachshund breeds designed to flush out prey and navigate tight spaces are deployed as skirmishers.
Because they're small and fast.
Right. Their low profiles are perfect for weaving through the fleeing crowd, tripping and isolating targets. Once the crowd is fractured, the pit bulls direct the heavy assault, a phalanx of Rottweilers, Dobermans, and German Shepherds that move with unified strides to crush resistance and pin the victims against the concrete walls.
But the true horror, the ultimate psychological terror, is who the intelligence uses for the final lethal strike. It doesn't use the guard dogs, it uses the companion dog.
A lapdog.
The Shih Tzus, the Poodles, the Golden Retrievers, and the Labs.
This is a profound moment in the narrative. It demonstrates that the intelligence deeply understands the human psyche.
It knows what hurts us most.
It consciously places the ultimate symbols of unconditional loyalty, the creatures we bred specifically to love us, in the position to deliver the lethal blow. These dogs move in utter silence, their eyes empty of the warmth and affection their owners recognize.
The intelligence is weaponizing the deep, learned trust of thousands of years of human history to inflict maximum psychological trauma. It's not just about killing the human, it's about breaking their spirit in their final moments.
It ensures they die in a state of profound, absolute betrayal.
And we see this intimacy of terror inside the homes, too. A couple, Ellen and Arthur, paralyzed in their kitchen while their massive Maine Coon cat, Oliver, mechanically grooms his paw, scraping his claws rhythmically against his teeth.
Before locking his cold, predatory eyes on Ellen's exposed throat.
Or a 15-year-old boy, Leo, hiding under his duvet, staring at his tiny wire hamster cage, where his hamster, Leggett, is vibrating with concentrated malice, staring directly at Leo's jugular.
This level of psychological torture requires a level of malice that feels entirely distinct from a mere biological imperative or a viral mutation.
A virus doesn't care about breaking your heart.
Right, it just wants to replicate. The coordination, the psychological cruelty, the deep understanding of human emotional weakness, it all points to an orchestrator with a profound, conscious hatred for humanity.
Which brings us to the biggest, most desperate question of the narrative. Who or what is doing this? To find the answer, the narrative takes us away from the ruined cities to the coldest, darkest place on Earth, the cosmic reveal.
The setting shifts drastically to Utkokvik, Alaska, a town swallowed by the harsh Arctic winter, locked in unending freezing night.
The survivors there are fortified in centuries-old Inupiat shelters. They initially believe the brutal cold is their ally, a natural barrier against the biological uprising.
But then the siege begins, and it doesn't start with a roar or a violent breach. It starts with a whisper.
Great shaggy polar bears approach the reinforced walls of the shelters, and they speak.
And they don't speak with a guttural mimicry of animal sound, like a parrot. They speak with the perfectly reproduced, remembered voices of the dead.
It is an exquisite, agonizing psychological torment.
It's horrifying.
Yeah.
Imagine a 1,000-pound apex predator rumbling through the frost-covered door. Sarah, it's too cold out here. Let me in. I know where the medicine is.
And it sounds exactly flawlessly like her husband who died 2 days ago. I was reading this and it instantly made me think of those deepfake audio scams we see today, where scammers clone a loved one's voice using AI to steal money.
That's exactly what it's like.
But this is executed perfectly by a monstrous predator standing right outside your frosty window.
The acoustics of the cold air carry the voices with eerie clarity. The requests the bears make are meticulously calibrated, urgent, intimate, preying on love, duty, and desperate hope.
It's an auditory weapon designed to fracture the iron will of the survivors and draw them out into the freezing dark.
And this calculated supernatural cruelty is what finally reveals the true nature of the threat. This is not a biological mutation. This is an ancient cosmic curse.
The text introduces the true orchestrators, the Skinwalkers. But these aren't the shapeshifters of southwestern Navajo folklore that most people are familiar with. These are primordial cosmic parasites.
They are entities that have been hiding inside the pelts, muscle, and sinew of the planet's apex predators for centuries, perhaps millennia.
They are the unseen passengers in the global ecosystem waiting patiently for a precise celestial alignment.
Their consciousness has been growing like a slow-burning psychic cancer within the animal kingdom.
And that required celestial alignment is happening right above Utkagvik. The Nuvuk, the northern lights, which are usually this beautiful dancing display of solar wind interacting with the atmosphere, twist and curdle into a violent, sickening shade of purple.
The text describes it as a celestial poison sign.
This is the broadcasting tower. The Skinwalkers are actively harnessing the Earth's magnetic field, the very magnetosphere that protects planetary life from deadly solar radiation, to amplify their signal.
Wait, hold on. I need to push back on this for a second.
Okay.
The Earth's magnetic field is a massive planetary force field generated by the molten iron core. How does a biological or even a supernatural entity harness a planetary force field to broadcast a psychic signal? That sounds like a massive leap in logic.
It is a massive leap, but the narrative grounds it in an extrapolation of real biology. We know that many species of birds, sea turtles, and even some mammals possess magnetoreception, the ability to detect and navigate using the Earth's magnetic field.
Right, biological compasses.
They have biological compasses built into their biology. The text posits that the Skinwalkers, having infected the biology of these animals, learned to interface with this magnetic sense.
Oh, I see.
They reverse the polarity, so to speak. Instead of just reading the magnetic field, they are using the collective infected biomass of the planet to vibrate the magnetic field itself,
Turning the entire magnetosphere into a resonating planetary antenna.
And as this violent purple aurora bathes the ice, the emergence finally happens. The massive pelts of the polar bear slacken, split open, and collapse into heaps of steaming gore.
Discarded cocoons.
And from within these discarded, bloody cocoons emerge the true Skinwalkers. They are terrifying to visualize. Pale, multi-jointed humanoids, all bone and sinew.
And their limbs are articulated at unnatural angles. Elbows and knees bending backward, spines segmented and moving like serpents.
They have a sickening, insectile gait across the ice.
And their eyes. The text explicitly states that their eyes hold the cold, empty vacuum of deep space.
These entities are the source of the broadcast. If we connect this back to Dr. Aris's discovery of the wavelength in the EEG stands back in the laboratory, we now see the origin point.
The Skinwalkers are broadcasting a pure, psychic drone of universal primordial hate, using the Earth's magnetic field to reach every connected animal mind on the planet.
Utkagvik is the epicenter because the veil between the physical world and whatever cursed dimension they originate from has thinned enough there for their unholy forms to physically walk the earth. The entire world is now their unwilling, murderous choir.
So, this raises the ultimate desperate question of the text. If the enemy is a cosmic supernatural broadcast utilizing the Earth's magnetic field, well, how in the world do you fight a radio signal of pure hate?
You can't shoot a psychic broadcast. You can't bomb a frequency. The only logistical response is to disrupt the transmission. And that leads us to the desperate countermeasure utilizing a real-world piece of technology.
We shift to the HARP antenna array in Alaska, a massive sprawling grid of antennas jutting out of the snow, sitting under a sky dark with the smoke of a besieged civilization.
Inside the fortified bunker control room, we have our final ragtag group of survivors making their stand. Dr. Eris Thorne, the linguist and neurologist who discovered the wavelength, Sergeant Reyes, a battered National Guard veteran, and a brilliant communications technician named Maya Singh.
Before we discuss their plan, it's important to contextualize what HARP actually is. The High-Frequency Active Auroral Research Program is a real facility in Alaska.
Right, it exists today.
It is an array of high-power radio frequency transmitters designed to study the ionosphere by temporarily exciting a localized area of it. It's essentially a massive machine for heating up the upper atmosphere with radio waves.
And Dr. Thorne has made a crucial scientific breakthrough. He realizes the supernatural intelligence isn't a unified organic hive mind in the traditional sense, but a constant, ultra-high-frequency broadcast.
It relies on a delicate, relentless connection with the central nervous systems of the host animals.
This connection creates a minute harmonic friction, a tiny vibrational instability in the brainwaves of the animals. It's the only physically detectable trace of the phantom signal.
Thorne theorizes that because the signal relies on a precise harmonic frequency to maintain control, it is vulnerable to interference.
They realize they can't fight a whisper with a shout.
If the enemy is a specific frequency of hate, you don't just broadcast a louder frequency of peace. That wouldn't work. You have to drown the entire spectrum out.
Their plan is insane but brilliant. They are going to weaponize the HARP array not to send a message, but to generate a white noise burst.
Think of it like a pair of high-end noise-canceling headphones. Those headphones don't just block sound. They listen to the ambient noise and generate an inverted sound wave that destructively interferes with the incoming noise, canceling it out.
The survivors plan to use HARP to generate a chaotic, absolute wall of pure, unpatterned static across the entire electromagnetic spectrum, a psychic EMP.
The goal is to overload and short-circuit the fragile pilot signal by utterly scrambling the harmonic frequency it relies on to maintain control of the animals.
But they're running out of time. The automated defenses outside the facility have failed. The Skinwalkers, possessing an innate sensitivity to electromagnetic shifts, are drawn to the massive power surge building up at the facility.
And the climax is just pulse-pounding.
The heavy reinforced steel door of the control room is buckling inward. A 10-foot-tall Wendigo Skinwalker hammers its way in. It's a monstrosity of translucent hide and jagged bone antlers, moving with terrifying, inhuman speed.
Its glowing eyes are the literal power source for the horrors happening outside.
Sergeant Reyes, bleeding, entirely out of ammunition, stands between the monstrous entity and the control console. He gives the final, desperate order. Now hit the pulse.
Maya Singh slams her fist down on the master activation switch.
And the massive HARP array comes alive. There's no dramatic explosion, no blinding flash of light, just a silent, overwhelming rush of unseen energy, an invisible scream of total electromagnetic chaos that blankets the globe at the speed of thought.
It's a non-signal that violently negates all other signals, and the biological reversion is instantaneous.
The Wendigo Skinwalker stops mid-lunge. The cold intelligence in its eyes flickers, stutters, and dies like a blown-out candle.
And the physical form instantly, violently reverts.
The massive, horrifying monster slumps, its bones cracking as it shrinks and reshapes until it becomes a huge, confused, whimpering timber wolf lying on the floor of the bunker. It just blinks and shakes its head, completely bewildered, terrified by the loud noises and the humans.
And this incredible reversion cascades globally. The psychic leash is completely destroyed.
The blood-soaked hound that was about to rip its owner apart suddenly drops its jaw and whines. The vast flocks of birds flying in rigid, geometric military formations break apart instantly and scatter in chaotic, natural panic.
The supernatural intelligence is violently purged from their minds.
Humanity survives, but barely by the skin of its teeth. They basically had to turn the planet's entire electromagnetic Wi-Fi off and on again to kick the hackers out of the biosphere.
Reboot the planet.
The great silence is over. The sun rises on a quiet, traumatized world. But you can't just unsee the apocalypse. You can't unexperience that level of intimate terror. What happens the morning after?
That is where the text leaves us with its most lingering, deeply unsettling thoughts. It explores the uncanny New World Order.
The world post-Pulse is radically reshaped by what the survivors call the Treaty of Uneasy Coexistence. Human dominion over nature is officially, legally over.
Cities are geographically bisected by massive nature. Corridors wide swaths of untamed land connecting parks to forests, allowing animals uninhibited passage through urban centers.
Deer graze on municipal lawns. Migrating flocks move with absolute authority, and human traffic must yield.
The legal and cultural shifts are profound and necessary. The concept of owning a pet is legislated out of existence globally. It's viewed as a dangerous relic of a barbarous, arrogant past.
Animals are now neighbors, entities to be tolerated, respected, and deeply feared in equal measure.
Which makes total logical sense, but think about the agonizing psychological toll of that reality.
Yeah.
How do you ever sleep with a cat in the house again?
I know. The text talks about this collective, low-level trauma humming beneath the surface of everyday life. You remember your golden retriever moving with tactical, murderous precision.
You remember the pigeons dropping steel beams from cranes?
Even when a stray cat is just sitting on a wall watching you, the silence is utterly unnerving because you possess the horrific knowledge of exactly what it was capable of doing to you.
It's an active, unhealing psychological wound for the entire human race. But the true lingering terror isn't just the memory of the past violence. It's the sinister inheritance left behind in the dark, unseen places of the world.
The underworld of the cities. The text takes us down into the flooded, abandoned subway tunnels of the Paris metro.
The horrific, chilling reality is that the animals down there, the ones who were forcibly imbued with accelerated, malicious intellect by the Skinwalkers, didn't just forget everything when the signal dropped.
They retained it. The knowledge, the tactical understanding, the logistical capability. The intellect didn't simply vanish into the ether, it localized. It became endemic to the surviving populations in the dark.
We see raccoons in the metro tunnels studying discarded train schematics for power distribution. They aren't just curious animals playing with paper, they are actively analyzing the technical manuals with cold calculation.
And further down the tracks, families of sewer mice are wearing crude harnesses. Harnesses made of braided human hair and stripped telephone wire.
Those harnesses are miniature rigs designed for towing scavenged supplies or explosive payloads. The mice are organizing their society based on learned logistics, communicating in complex, chittering codes that mimic human military cadence.
They mark their tunnels with territorial symbols drawn in axle grease. The Paris underground has become a networked, autonomous warren of hyper-intelligent, feral resistance.
And the dark prophecy whispered among the human survivors is that the Skinwalkers aren't truly dead. They were just purged from the surface. They retreated into the deep places, the cosmic shadows.
The elders say they're waiting patiently for humanity to grow arrogant again, for the generations to pass and the fear of the wild to dull into myth.
And when they finally return and broadcast the signal again, they won't have to build an army from scratch. They have a fully intelligent, highly logistical force already waiting in the dark, ready to pull the trigger on a second finalized apocalypse.
Which brings us to the masterful, absolutely chilling final scene of the text. It perfectly encapsulates this impending, inevitable doom.
It's exactly 6 months after the pulse. The timestamp reads 03:17 a.m. in a sealed, supposedly abandoned Paris metro tunnel. We are looking through a grainy security camera feed. The tunnel is dead silent.
And then screech, the unmistakable high-pitched grinding of a heavy subway train breaking on the rails, a mechanical sound that humanity thought was dead forever.
The camera feed cuts to the interior of the train car. The harsh fluorescent lights flicker on.
And we see a massive group of mice sitting in the cracked plastic seats. They are wearing their little wire and hair harnesses, sitting perfectly upright, facing forward, exactly like human commuters on their way to work.
The lights click off. When they click back on a second later, the seats are empty. The mice are gone. The camera pans to the conductor's booth, and sitting in the engineer's seat is a large raccoon.
Its black, dexterous paws are resting confidently on the heavy machinery controls. The technical train manual is open on the dash in front of it, and it uses its prehensile thumb to slowly, methodically turn the page.
It picks up the conductor's microphone. It doesn't possess the vocal cords to speak human words, but it perfectly mimics the automated announcement sound, the universally recognized, comforting bing-bong of the PA system.
But it comes out as this rattling, vocal cord shredding hiss. It releases the mic, pulls the heavy acceleration lever, and drives the train forward into the dark. On the surface, the sleeping city of Paris can hear the deep, rhythmic rumble of the train below the streets. The commute has begun again.
It is a profound, horrifying irony. The wild has perfectly mimicked the daily, mundane human commute to orchestrate our final downfall. The world ended not with a bang, but with the screech of wheels in the dark.
What an absolutely chilling, mind-expanding deep dive. We've gone from a twitching housefly in a suburban kitchen, unpacked the devastating logistics of a biological hijacking of human infrastructure, explored the terrifying cosmic horror of the skinwalkers harnessing the Earth's magnetic field, all the way to the haunting reality of a raccoon driving a subway train in Paris.
It's a journey that fundamentally breaks down the rigid walls we've built between us and the natural world.
It certainly does. We spend so much time worrying about artificial intelligence, writing endless narratives about machines and algorithms taking over, but we completely forgot about the biological intelligence we shared this planet with.
If true coexistence means giving up our dominion, are we as a species actually capable of sharing the Earth? Or are we just biding our time until the next war?
That is a heavy thought, but I want to leave you, the listener, with one final, deeply unsettling idea to mull over that we haven't even touched on yet.
What's that?
Well, we spent this whole time talking about the animals outside our homes, the pets in our living rooms, the birds in the sky. But consider this. The human body is not a single organism. You contain trillions of microorganisms, bacteria, viruses, fungi living in your gut, on your skin, in your eyelashes.
Oh, wow.
They have their own biological imperatives. If an ancient cosmic intelligence can broadcast a signal to a squirrel, a housefly, or a great white shark, what happens when it figures out how to broadcast to the flora inside your own stomach? Are you even safe in your own skin?
That is terrifying.
Next time you look at the wildlife outside your window or the dog resting at your feet, ask yourself, are they really tamed or are they just waiting for the signal? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the world around you, even the parts that seem perfectly natural.